Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to Fast Track 4. Today we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 5, Part 5. Spoilers ahead for that episode. Let's just get straight into it. So we open up this episode with something that a lot of people have been clamoring for and really hoping that we get, and kind of expecting based on the fact that Hayden Christensen is back. And that is a flashback to Coruscant during the Episode 2 era, kind of, so prior to the Clone Wars. We don't know exactly when set, presumably before the events of Attack of the Clones, maybe after, but in any case before the change to the Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars may be beginning, or they may be, a year or two out at the time, but Anakin and Obi-Wan duel. And I will just say, I will just get out of the way, there's no or very little de-aging or cleanup or smoothing or anything to either of them. Both Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor kind of just look as they do now, which I'm completely fine with. They both still look incredible, for their age. And, I don't have that much issue with it. It's just they're both obviously older than they were when they played those same characters all the way back in the early 2000s. So, for me, it was something I noticed, but it didn't take away from anything, but I just wanted to get that out of the way. So we get a cut straight to Vader. The Third Sister is saying that the tracker took them to Jabeam, which is obviously where the rebels are hiding, and Vader makes her kneel before giving her the Grand Inquisitor position, which she was promised in the last episode, or the episode before that. And, he gives her the little badge to say that she is the Grand Inquisitor. So, very, very interesting. Haja, who is the fake Jedi that I failed to get the name of last time, but I now have. Haja, I think it's Haja, is on Jabeam now, which is very good. Means that he's got more allies, Obi-Wan, on the rebel planet. But Obi promises to help get the refugees out, just to get them away from there, because they know that the Empire is probably tracking them in some way and is likely to get them eventually. So they're planning on all just getting out of there, getting everyone safe, and hopefully, avoiding the Empire completely. But then Lola, with her little evil, tracking chip on her and her red eyes, is used to destroy the base's controls. So, first off, Obi-Wan finds some lightsabers and some robes, and has a flashback to Anakin just being impatient, and then Vader launches the attack. Obi-Wan calls for all rebels to defend the base, so they do, and we have 2 dropships of imps, of Imperials, 2 Purge Troopers included, and then the Inquisitor ship, which appears to only have the Third Sister. That's not all we ever see. Presumably there might be more Purge Troopers on board, but that's all we ever see is just the Third Sister come off it. And they have a heavy cannon that they are firing at the door, which behind the door is all the rebels and everything. And Leia goes into the vent that Lola is in. They don't realise that, but where Lola is, to fix the door so that the rest of the rebels can actually escape. Obi-Wan receives a call from Bail, basically just saying to be careful, because if the Empire knows about Leia, the Empire might know about Luke, and it's just dangerous for everyone. And, that's a good point. Honestly, Leia being known to Vader is dangerous. If it's found out that that's his daughter, it's only a matter of time for Luke, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But Tala gives her backstory, how she was ordered to round up Force sensitives when she was part of the Imperial Army and stuff, and how she then decided she would dedicate her life to kind of saving people, which is really nice and obviously sets her up to die. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But Obi-Wan asks to negotiate, quote-unquote, with the Third Sister, and further asks the Third Sister how she knew Anakin. It turns out that she was actually one of the younglings, as some people have theorized, from the first episode, from the flashbacks, and Anakin killed all the other younglings that she was with, and we find out by the end, he did actually stab her with his lightsaber, but she apparently survived. And she says that she played dead, laying in a pile of bodies with the other younglings, and it's such a sad like image, and obviously we've seen younglings fall at the hand of Vader. It's just knowing how many he shot down, he stabbed down, he sliced up, whatever. It's awful. It's honestly awful, and obviously, especially last episode we had that youngling that was encased in the yellow jar thing, and there's so much youngling slaughter by the hand of the Inquisitors and the 501st and Vader. It's awful. But the third sister wants Vader dead because of what he did to her and her friends, her family, essentially. But she also knows that Obi-Wan is the key to Vader, so cuts through the door with her lightsaber, which, why didn't she just do that from the start? They're using a heavy cannon, which was barely making a dent. Why didn't she just cut it open immediately? But whatever. The stormtroopers advance in. Obi-Wan manages to kill Purge Trooper, but Tala is shot, and Ned B is also absolutely wrecked and just falls. He's able to protect Tala for long enough, but she's bleeding from a laser shot, which I don't think is how that works, but is what it is. Tala suicide bombs with thermal detonator to basically just give the rebels more time so that, the Imperials will surrender, or at the very least retreat, which they do. Vader actually tells them to stand down after he finds out that they have got into the base. And we have another flashback showing how Anakin is just vicious. So this is showing the strength of Vader, the absolute, ferocity of Vader. And, Haja is given Obi-Wan's lightsaber, comlink, and blaster, and Obi-Wan just surrenders himself to the Imps, to the Imperials. Evil Lola ready to attack Leia, but Leia manages to sort that out. Vader is inbound to the planet. Obi-Wan pleads with the First Sister to kill Vader for him, and Obi-Wan is taken inside by some stormtroopers. Another flashback with Anakin hitting Obi-Wan's weapon away, and Anakin's need for victory blinding him, which is obviously setting up that Vader too is going to be blinded by the need for victory. Obi-Wan escapes the stormtroopers because, of course, he does. It's Obi-Wan. And Leia does remove Lola's tracker, which makes Lola nice again. Makes Lola's light turn blue, and it's all very nice. Vader pursues Obi-Wan down the base, and the rebels begin to evacuate. Leia asks about Tala, and that's a bit of a sad moment. Haja drops Obi-Wan's comlink, which we'll get back to later, and Vader tries to pull in the ship. He grabs the ship as it's trying to fly off with the Force, and he's actually kind of struggling, but he does manage to pull it to the ground and rips it apart. And it turns out that ship was a decoy, with the actual ship with all the rebels in it flying off, with Vader just having to watch because he's exhausted himself trying to get that first ship. Which, Obi-Wan in this flashback just after tricks Anakin, takes his saber, and states that Anakin is still Padawan as long as he lets these weaknesses affect him, which, even now, Vader is still just a Padawan in the eyes of Obi-Wan, especially. The First Sister attempts to kill Vader. Vader is just able to stop her blade with the Force. He actually splits the Inquisitor saber into two and decides to duel the Third Sister. I don't know why he doesn't use his own lightsaber. I don't know if he just doesn't have it. But he does split the Inquisitor saber in two, which is something that I don't think we have seen before. But the First Sister falls, and as he comes towards her holding both lightsabers, or the two halves of the Inquisitor saber, she sees Vader as Anakin as he stabs her, and we see both Vader as Vader stab Third Sister, as well as, Anakin Vader, non-machine Vader, stabbing the youngling Third Sister. I'd never wrote her down her name, and I'm not going to note it, but yeah, that's... it's a terrifying thing. And he says that he always knew that she was that youngling, he's known all along. And then the original Grand Inquisitor walks in and takes his badge back. So, the Grand Inquisitor isn't dead, so the continuity, the canon is still there. And the First Sister is just left to die. We find out that the hyperdrive on the Rebel ship is down, so they might be in a bit of trouble there. The First Sister actually finds Obi-Wan's comlink, and finds out about Luke. And then the final shot is just Luke sleeping soundly on Tatooine. And that is the episode. It's a lot, honestly. There's so much stuff. The fact we're finally seeing some, not Clone Wars era, which is what I wanted, but some prequel era content that isn't just Order 66 again. Very nice. I love seeing more of that world. And obviously, we get plenty of it in animation. I really enjoy that we're actually getting some in live action now. Hopefully, we do actually get something Clone Wars. I just want to see live action, that outfit for both Anakin and Obi-Wan in live action form. Maybe even like a younger Ahsoka in live action would be great. I just want them to connect the live action and the animated stuff a little bit better, That's really what I want. But yeah, this episode was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was very fast-paced. There wasn't really as much going on, and I think my notes and how long I've spent talking about it is really pointed that out. But this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for the finale, which is next week. All the playing cards are there. The First Sister probably isn't dead, but she's gravely injured. The Grand Inquisitor is back to being the Grand Inquisitor. Vader's still perfectly fine. Obi-Wan, perfectly fine. Haja potentially has some lightsabers. He could maybe be like semi-decent with a lightsaber. We don't know. That would be really interesting if it turns out he could be a Jedi, like he's force sensitive or something. That'd be really interesting. But yeah, overall, very good episode. I'm really excited for the final. This has been a really good series, honestly, and it's kind of going to be a shame when it's over because it's limited. There's not going to be a season 2 or anything, so yeah. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. So if you liked it, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new here, and ring that bell so you never miss an upload. Tell me what you think in the comments below of this episode, and yeah. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye!
It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation.